Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We're in the Inland Empire today, but we're joined by someone who is the president of the Los Angeles County School Trustee Association. We're right near the line of LA County and Riverside County and San Bernardino County. Stephen Llanusa is also a board member of the Claremont Unified School District.
Correct.
And a sixth grade teacher in the Rialto School District?
Colton
Unified School District.
And my fifth graders would be upset if I didn't say fifth grade this year.
You used to be sixth grade.
I did.
What happened?
I got demoted.
You got demoted. Oh, no, you didn't. You're doing a great job for sure. But there's no doubt that No Child Left Behind got demoted. In fact, it failed.
True.
It got erased. What happened, sir?
No Child Left Behind had a lot of lofty goals,
right,
but it didn't have reality. it said that everyone would be above average, which is statistically impossible.
Right. And this was the bill, of course, signed by President George W. Bush in 2002, set very stringent standards, required a lot of standardized testing, and failure resulted in a scarlet letter.
There was more punishment for not achieving goals than support to help schools make them. That's a recipe for disaster.
Right. And California specifically was in quite a heap of hurt because they had schools that under No Child Left Behind were deemed to have failed. And technically speaking, when you had that scarlet letter, a lot of ramifications were supposed to attach.
Including the loss of support. Their revenue was taken away as a punishment, and the kids suffered. And they did nothing wrong.
Right, right. So let's talk about what happened recently. At the end of last year, No Child Left Behind was abolished, literally abolished, and the new federal program is known as Every Student Succeeds. Explain Every Student Succeeds.
The ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, is a reauthorization of an older legislation from the 60s, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act.
Okay.
No Child Left Behind was a tweak on that. No Child Left Behind has expired, and now the new act is the Every Student Succeeds Act, which still has accountability, still has goals, still addresses all the children, all the students, but does so in a more even-handed way.
And when you look at the question of standardized testing, it also changes the way the states can administer or need to administer the standardized test. Explain that.
Well, standardized tests right now are based on Common Core curriculum. The Common Core curriculum was developed before the Every Student Succeeds Act.
Very complicated.
It is,
right.
And after No Child Left Behind expired and was not reauthorized. So what Every Student Succeed Act does is make an assessment that measures what students are being taught.
And it also gives more authority, as I understand it, to the states.
It gives flexibility.
Yeah, it gives them flexibility, which I know is helpful. And it's interesting, right around the time that Every Student Succeeds was marching through the Congress, President Obama issued a policy asking that the school districts cap the amount of time spent on assessments at no more than 2%. So standardized tests really, they took a bit of a hit.
They did. And it's okay for standardized tests to measure what is being taught. It's not okay when they dictate what is being taught.
So let's talk more about standardized tests, because I think it's important that we delve deeply into this. Like you said, standardized tests now are using the Common Core as the formula with which to develop the tests. Last year was the first year results were released for what's known as the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. And the results were disappointing. Is that a fair adjective?
It's fair and it's understandable.
Okay.
This is a curriculum that is a K-12 curriculum, and students are being tested in my sixth grade last year as if they'd had the curriculum for the 6 years in advance, which they haven't. So there's an adjustment.
There is an adjustment, but I do want to talk about one statistic within the results, which I found to be particularly troubling. It's easy to break out along ethnic groups, but I thought the statistic that was more telling was when we broke it out among students that come from economically disadvantaged homes. Those students, they met standards for English at a rate of 31%, for math at a rate of 21%. That is troubling, to say the very least.
It is. And the state of California has a funding formula, the Local Control Funding Formula, LCFF, you'll hear those initials a lot, that have within the funding formula extra resources for English learners, economically disadvantaged students, and foster youth.
So, amen. I mean, it's good to hear that. But we've been talking about this achievement gap for so long, sir. And it doesn't seem to be closing much, if at all. We can also look at ethnic groups. Latinos met standards in English at 32%, in math, 21%. African Americans in English met standards at 28% for English, for math, 18%. I mean,
we have to do much better with all of our students, especially the students who are at risk or failing to achieve what they need to achieve.
So in your mind, sir, is Common Core the way to do it?
Common Core is extremely rigorous. Common Core is based on international standards. We need to up our game as Americans so that we can compete nationally and internationally.
I want to talk more about Common Core, if I may. I am lucky in that through my work here at Charter, I am able to travel to different states and I interview elected officials in various different states. In California, when I talk about Common Core, I mean, not much is really said. We have a conversation about it. I ask people both on and off the record, are you hearing complaints about Common Core in California? Not really. I go to other states. It's literally the worst thing that has befallen them. It's amazing to me how in some places Common Core is a 4-letter word. In California, I don't hear anything about it.
There are two aspects to Common Core, the curriculum and the assessment.
Okay.
The curriculum is great. It's rich, it's steep. It really makes sure kids get a lot of exposure and practice with the concepts. The assessment is another story. The assessment is new. It's done on computers, which past assessments have not been before. It requires a lot of typing for school kids that may not have had touch typing or learning typing.
But look, Common Core, opposition and support has fallen kind of along political lines. Those opposed tend to be right of center, those support tend to be left of center, for better or for worse. California is a diverse state. Yes, we're a, quote, blue state, but there are plenty of right of center populations. You live in an area that's somewhat right of center. I don't hear complaints. But yet in other states with right of center populations, it's literally the worst thing that's happened since I don't know what.
I think you're right.
What's going on?
I don't know, because the governors, the United States
40
governors
plus
developed
governors,
Common Core, and it was definitely a bipartisan initiative.
Right.
And not every bipartisan initiative stays bipartisan.
Sure.
And that may be part of the complaint.
Are you surprised, though, by the level with which there's such antipathy in other places and not California?
Well, I don't travel as widely as you do, so I'll take your word for that.
I mean, but look, we've heard,
The complaints I hear within California.
Oh, yeah. So you hear some, presumably?
Are mainly, like I said, about the assessment. Teachers complain because
they don't know how to use the computers.
Well, no, even the ones that do, they don't know what the assessment's going to look like.
I understand.
They know what the concepts are, but how is that concept being measured? Are the skills being tested in word problems?
Right.
Are they being tested in conceptual
So
abstracts?
you're a teacher yourself. How do you feel?
I feel like I do my best to get the kids to be able to answer all types of questions.
Right.
And it is a frustration because if I know that there's going to be a lot of algorithmic testing done, I'll make sure they know the algorithms.
Okay.
If it's going to be a lot of conceptual questions, I'll make sure they know the concepts.
He is Stephen Llanusa. He is the president of the Los Angeles County School Trustee Association. He is a board member in Claremont. Guys, there's so many cities in your lexicon. Claremont Unified. I'm Brad Pomerance, Charter Local Edition.